Hello guys, it's Bonecrusher 2D, bringing you another steep tutorial, and I'm going to be playing this here video sent to me by Rar. So let's go ahead and play this through. I'm going to actually turn off the music so I can dub over it easier. First thing I'm noticing is he's coming in at a little bit too much off of the sides of the checkpoint. He's got a lot of area there at the beginning that's making it I guess the best representation is if I showed you myself. So he starts off, he's the dotted line here, and this is a top-down view of the checkpoints. Checkpoint 0 being the very start checkpoint to start the run. But he's starting off very well, hitting the very clip of this edge here to begin, which means that he's not wasting much time. It's not much off the optimal line. It's not the optimal line, but not much off of it. So very well done there. But he goes and makes this wide arcing turn through checkpoints 1 and 2 and then back through 3, whereas the optimal line showing the least amount of turn is this straight black line, makes basically as optimal as you can get, just barely touching the checkpoints with the smallest amount of turning possible. Alright guys, we're going to continue off with the 4th through 8th checkpoints. If you notice, he gets almost the perfect turn around that mountain there as his hand just brushes the mountain and goes immediately into the end. So let's draw that out. So I've got this drawing here, and he comes in from checkpoint 4, right? And he's almost got it perfect as he's coming around the mountain, but this would be the optimal line. I switched the optimal line to green instead of black to make it a little bit more easy to see, because all the black on black was making it difficult for me to read. So I knew it would be hard for you as well. The optimal line would be from hitting this side to immediately this side and going straight forward to the top, hitting this checkpoint. And if you see how I'm going through the middle of checkpoint 6 and then to checkpoint 7, you should be almost ignoring this since it's already in your flight path. You should be looking 1 or 2 checkpoints ahead to make sure that you're going the most optimal route. If you've got 3 of them that are all lined up where you don't need to turn at all, go until the very last one in the sequence and then make your sharpest turn. As we saw him do, he pulled a little bit too far to the left for that safety checkpoint, went through the middle and gave a little bit too much in there. This is almost perfect, but it could use a little bit of work. And then he pulled it back way too far to the right to finish off. So I'm going to play that again one more time. Just the 4th through the 8th checkpoint. So this is checkpoint 4 here. So he goes through almost perfectly, pulls a little bit too much to the left here. He had plenty of space on the right where he didn't have to check it. Goes straight. He's drifting a little bit to the right there. And then he hits this checkpoint with a little bit. He could use that extra space to the right there. And then he goes too far to the right. Now optimizing his run. One of the things you guys need to remember is there is only 1 pixel that matches up to any of the checkpoints, any of the mountain, anything like that. I mentioned that in my proximity part of the video, but that also works for precision and checkpoints, because that's the only part that will actually connect with the checkpoint. That's the part right between your feet that needs to get into the checkpoint and into the end. You want that to be what touches all of the line, right? So that's how you determine whether or not what your line is it's that little part right between your feet. When the mountain view is pulled up and you're watching the dot trail that comes behind, the dot trail is actually originated from immediately between your feet and only starts and stops the checkpoint when that point hits the checkpoint. And as some of you may have noticed, I have added a split switch with an arrow pointing to the right, and then further on it switches to the left. Now the reason I did that and what that means is when you're up to this point, up to checkpoint 4, you will be dodging to the right. The reason you're dodging to the right specifically on this challenge is because there is a split switch gate where you would turn and dodge to the left instead. There's only a few challenges that this makes sense to do on. Every other challenge, and you should not try doing the split switch right away. Every other challenge, you will be doing this only in one direction. You will only be dodging in one direction, either to the right or the left, whichever you're more comfortable with. I can only think of 2 other challenges that don't do that, but in this one particularly, you can split switch, and that means you're going to be dodging from the right, and then after the mountain, you're dodging to the left. That saves only a small amount of time, and if it's done perfectly, otherwise you're wasting time. I would suggest not using the split switch until you're more comfortable with the dodging mechanic, but the reason you would use the dodge or the split switch is it makes the line a little bit more direct. Instead of having, as RAR did, which is going farther to the and having a harder curvature around the mountain, you can immediately push yourself against that mountain, and instead of turning to the left with your left thumbstick, you're turning a little bit to the right, making the turn way more optimal. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial, and as always, I'll see you on the mountain.